of the country, Zohran, my little girl, Zuma, number one exporter, sugar. All of the countries have inferior sugar.
Cancel. All right. Moving on, breaking. Zohran Mamdani defeats Andrew Cuomo in huge upset. Now, Humanist Report was about to give up. He was almost about to give up on politics. Let me see if I can find the video where he is upset about the possibility of him losing.
There is a myth about this city. It's the lie that life has to be hard in New York. I believe we can guarantee cheaper groceries, we can raise the minimum wage, we can freeze the rent for more than 2 million tenants and build hundreds of thousands of affordable homes. It's city government's job to deliver that. We are done settling for less. Are you ready for a city we can afford? Are you ready to win this race?
Paid for by Zohran for NYC.
So I promised myself that I'd never get my hopes up ever again about a political campaign or electoral politics in general, for that matter, after endless defeats and disappointment. But Zohran Mamdani found a way to break through my cynicism and somehow managed to reignite the flame of optimism in my cold, dead heart. And it's not just that he's an ideal candidate. It's that he's on the verge of pulling off a monumental victory in New York City's mayoral race, and if he were to win, it would be a political upset that rivals AOC's ouster of Joe Crowley back in 2018. I mean, it would send shockwaves through the American political establishment, and every day he is inching closer and closer to victory, which is why I'm out of my slumber and starting to pay attention to this race. A Data for Progress poll conducted before his AOC endorsement substantive campaign country because special interests control politicians by buying and bribing them. For example, he explains that landlords are flocking to Andrew Cuomo's campaign currently because they know that he's going to let them continue to gouge tenants. But he's not just running an anti-Cuomo campaign, he's running one of the most strong anti-fascist campaigns of any politician in the country right now, which is exactly why we need his leadership now in a moment like this more than ever. And to show you what I mean, he had to be held back by police while he was confronting Tom Homan, Trump's border czar.
Yep.
That's the kind of person we need as a leader in a time like this. So ask yourself, do you want right-wing Democrats like Andrew Cuomo, who plays patty cake with the Republicans, defending you from fascists? Or would you rather have someone like Zohran Mamdani defending you from fascists, who tries to get in their faces to confront them about their human rights abuses? I feel like the answer is obvious if you are a leftist or a liberal. See, candidates like Mamdani are the antidotes to fascism because they are addressing the material issues that have long been ignored by the political establishment, which created the conditions for fascism to arise in the first place. Because
he is literally the medicine. He's the medicine America needs right now, dude.
When people live paycheck to paycheck for so long and their standard of living deteriorates year after year and they feel like things are just never going to get better, they begin to grow frustrated and angry and desperate. And that desperation makes them susceptible to radicalization, which is why fascists like Donald Trump often come along and exploit that, because they acknowledge their pain and suffering, but they tell them that it's immigrants and trans people that's the cause of all of their problems. And since they're so desperate and they just want an answer, they believe it. And even though it's the wrong answer, it's an answer nonetheless, which is why fascism is so potent during times like this. And that's why the left is so effective at countering fascism, because they give people the real answers and offer real solutions. People like Mamdani and Bernie Sanders and AOC, they explain that the cause of their pain and suffering isn't powerless immigrants or LGBTQ plus people. It's the billionaires and large multinational corporations who've captured our government to rig the system against the rest of us. Now, standard neoliberal Democrats cannot meaningfully address these issues because they've also been captured by the same capitalist system, which is why, instead of addressing the material needs of working people, they'll capitulate to fascists on particular issues. Cuomo's response to a Nazi-like Gestapo force invading New York City to terrorize residents,
see a reflection of themselves, is a mayor who can look
things that are illegal
on that note, a local CBS affiliate juxtaposed Cuomo and Mamdani's approach to Trump, and the difference is night and day. Like, this is the difference between leftists and liberals when it comes to fighting fascism.
They're going to send in ICE in New York. They are going to do things that are illegal and unconstitutional.
You gotta stand up to that. Oh, it doesn't matter if he's gonna do it. Don't say he's gonna do this. Say, I'm gonna stand up to this. I'm gonna fight this. I'm gonna say, fuck you, Trump. I'm gonna send the cops in this to kick out those fucking ICE agents. But no, Cuomo's a centrist. And this is the difference between a leftist and a centrist.
But let's not overreact.
Zohran Mamdani says he's going to be ready.
They're breaking the Constitution. What do you mean? Let's not overreact. Oh, my God. Let me not yell.
To deal with Trump if he gets elected mayor.
What we deserve in this moment is a mayor who can look that authoritarianism in the eye and not see a reflection of themselves.
Yeah.
A mayor who has a plan to not just call it what it is, but to stand up and fight back.
Mamdani called for hiring more lawyers to represent immigrants in court.
So Cuomo's response to a Nazi-like Gestapo force invading New York City to terrorize residents is to not overreact. Mamdani's response is to vociferously defend innocent immigrants and stand up to these fascist thugs. How exactly is this a close race again? How does Andrew Cuomo still have a lead? I mean, I get that it's difficult because he has name recognition and Mamdani does not. But I mean, if you're paying attention at all, it shouldn't even be a contest. If you support Andrew Cuomo, I question if you actually oppose fascism. Because if you're not responding to this moment with the urgency it requires, and you're not electing people that respond to this moment with the urgency that it requires, you're complicit. But Cuomo is basically the Democratic equivalent of Donald Trump, so his response isn't too surprising. And in singing Kumbaya with fascists, I status quo, you know, the left poses a threat to the status quo, whereas Republicans and fascism, they don't. They're upholding the status quo currently. And, you know, it's why you have Democratic Party leaders that will literally stoop so low that they're willing to hold hands and sing Kumbaya with fascists in support of racist ethno-states because their donors are requiring them to do this. And when I say that they're holding hands and singing Kumbaya with fascists, I promise you,
look at this cringy shit, dude. He's literally not even lying about them singing Kumbaya with fascists.
I'm not being hyperbolic or exaggerating. This is what they are doing.
We stand with Israel. We stand with Israel.
Republican, conservative Democrats.
We stand with Israel.
Israel's doing a genocide.
How
war crimes.
Inspiring. Now contrast that with somebody like Mamdani, who is not beholden to special interests and the Israel lobby, and you can see that his policies line up much more closely with average voters as opposed to Democratic Party leaders. Because right now, if you look at polls, Democrats overwhelmingly want to cut off aid to Israel, and they are empathetic towards the Palestinian plight.
Yep. All right, let's move on to the real victory. Bro, I'm so happy about this victory.
Oh my God, we actually have breaking news that's not negative. I'm not here to tell you about our imminent demise or somebody doing something terrible and getting away with it or something evil that Donald Trump just did. I have good news that is the best news, like earth-shatteringly good news, like change the trajectory of the country levels of good news. Not to sound hyperbolic, but like this is 2018 AOC beating Joe Crowley levels of holy shit. So Zohran Mamdani basically defeated Andrew Cuomo. There's a caveat because it's not over yet. It hasn't been called at the time that I record this video, but with 90% of precincts reporting, as you can see, Zohran Mamdani has a commanding lead over Andrew Cuomo. And since this is ranked choice voting, by the time all of the other votes are distributed, odds are he's going to grow his lead and win possibly by a landslide. And even in Staten Island, he is doing very well. He's not beating Andrew Cuomo there, but he's doing very, very well. And I've got to say, what the fuck? I basically had given up on this country. I'm not joking. I basically had given up and just accepted that nothing good is possible, because time after time after time, the candidate that progressives and young people want was always defeated. They tried out Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton and the establishment, and, you know, they get money from billionaires, and they smear the person we want, and then voters fall for it. This time, Democratic Party voters showed that they're not fucking around. They're ready for real change. And this, to me, is so goddamn encouraging. And just to like put into perspective how unexpected this was for me, I have an entire video tomorrow about Zohran Mamdani. And I prefaced the video by saying I'm recording this not knowing the results yet. But if Zohran loses, I'm basically going to crash out. Watch the whole video so you understand what I'm talking about. And so I didn't record it for nothing. But basically, it's about how, for once, the Democratic Party, their base in particular, they can't keep rejecting the candidates that young people want and then complaining about the direction the country is headed in with fascism. So that's what that video is about. And I recorded that video because I did not expect to see results tonight that are this positive, that give us any indication of who's going to win, because I thoroughly expected Andrew Cuomo to have a lead and then not really get the full results until a week or so later, after the second round, third round are taken into account. So I just didn't expect anything really this quickly. But Zohran is doing so good that tonight,
I think anybody on the left doesn't expect any victories anymore. But maybe now shit's changing.
we basically know he won. Like, it's not confirmed. I want to emphasize that. But for all intents and purposes, I think it's safe to call it, this election has been won by Zohran Mamdani, a socialist, a 33-year-old Muslim man who has been smeared as an anti-Semite, who's been attacked for being a socialist. The right has been freaking the fuck out. Individuals like Laura Loomer and Charlie Kirk have all but endorsed Andrew Cuomo just to stop Mamdani. Andrew Cuomo has taken millions of dollars from billionaires like Michael Bloomberg to smear Mamdani, and throughout all of that, he out-campaigned them, and he pulled off one of the biggest political upsets in the modern era. Like, this truly is on par with AOC's defeat of Joe Crowley in 2018. This sends a huge message to the Democratic Party. This is what we want. You want to win? This is how you do it. And, you know, before I would just say, well, it doesn't matter because the Democratic Party is just going to say, no, fuck you. But Zohran has kind of proven that the voters, they're done playing games.
Yep.
They saw fascism and they now realize, oh, I see that the antidote to fascism is progressives. It's socialism. And in the era of fascism, obviously fascism is more scary than socialism. So you know what? Let's let the youngins choose the candidate this time. Let's opt for Zohran Mamdani. And I've got to say, this was completely unexpected. This bodes well for the future of the Democratic Party, because look, if Zohran lost this, then I don't know if the Democratic Party would even have a future. And it seems a little bit nonsensical to stake everything on this one local race in New York City where the overwhelming majority of us don't have a say. But really, this was going to determine the trajectory of the Democratic Party going forward. And if voters...
Because if this guy wins, that means that other Democratic politicians need to get this guy's ideas and run on it, because apparently it's that popular. Like, our ideas are actually really fucking popular, you know?
Again, opt for somebody who's establishment over the progressive, then I feel like in 2028, assuming we have free and fair elections, they're just going to go for another terrible candidate. Who's it going to be this next time, right? Is it going to be Gavin Newsom? Is it going to be some billionaire who chooses to buy his way into prominence? But this shows that the voters, once and for all, are fed up. To look at the results and see that it's not a disaster, which has basically always been the case since Bernie 2016, I've got to say, I think it probably feels good. I don't feel much right now because I'm just kind of like stunned and in a state of shock. But as I digest this news more, and as it becomes official when it's called by reputable sources, then I'll begin to realize, oh my God, like, this is it. So, yeah, I don't have much else to say about this. I just wanted to come to you with some good news because I typically don't have good news, and I feel bad that all I talk about is negative things. But I mean, I don't really control the news cycle. It's hard to be positive in this atmosphere. Nonetheless, we have good news. At least it seems like good news, not confirmed, but it seems like good news. And I've got to say, I'm happy. I'm very, very happy. I think that the alliance between Brad Lander and Zohran Mamdani is really going to pay off. I think that when most of Brad Lander's votes are distributed to Zohran Mamdani, like this really could be a landslide here. So buckle up, because if Zohran really is the winner, and it seems like he is, I still, like, as you can tell, I'm not sure because it seems so surreal. If this is real, then there's going to be an earthquake in Washington, D.C. There's going to be levels of hysteria, racism and Islamophobia, the likes of which we haven't seen since fucking 2008.
Oh, there already is. That's coming up next.
The shrieking from mainstream media, from corporate Democrats, from Republicans about socialism and communism is going to be huge.
I love it. I want to drink all their tears.
It'll be overwhelming. But all of the crying that we are about to see, if this is indeed real, it's solidification that we finally, for once, have these motherfuckers scared. And that's a good sign. So relish in their fear. Drink their tears, because that is a sign that for once in our fucking lives, we won an election. Okay, ever since Bernie 2016, I was just like accepting that nothing good is ever going to happen. I got my hopes up again in 2020, started to get my hopes up this time, but I'm like, no, fight that feeling, Mike, because you're going to be sorely disappointed again. And I fought that feeling to the very end, and now it actually happened for once. It seems like it. I'm still skeptical, but wow, he fucking did it. He fucking pulled it off.
He did it, dude.
What's next? Kat Abu Ghazala?
Yes,
she gonna win too?
Kat.
Are good things possible again in this country? Maybe. Maybe. I don't want to read too much into this, but this is really huge. This is really fucking huge, and I really don't think that that can be overstated. It's not just about New York City and Zohran Mamdani. This is about something that we have been trying to accomplish for a very long time now on the progressive left, and the fact that we may have finally pulled it off where it matters the most. All right, that's something to be proud of, folks. So take this victory, or this presumed victory, and hang on to it, because we don't get this shit very often.
Nope. Subscribe to Mike. Humanist Report. Let's move on.
Mamdani loses. I think I've given up on the Democratic Party at this point.
I think I'm just going to completely give up on the idea of anyone having anything good ever.
This could really happen. I don't know. It would mean so much.
Yo, for real, that's how a lot of young people feel, bro, including me and Mike.
At the time that I record this video, the votes have already been cast in New York City's mayoral race, and we don't yet know the results, and we probably won't know for a little bit. But as you saw, young people, young men in particular, who Democrats are spending $20 million to win back, are very clearly excited about Zohran Mamdani, and it's not just young men, to be clear, it's young people in general. A poll from Emerson shows that Mamdani has a 34-point advantage among voters between the ages of 18 and 49, and young people have absolutely dominated early voting in New York City. As David Hogg points out, the same establishment that is spending millions to destroy Zohran will say in a few months that we need to spend millions on polling and testing to win back young people. Open your goddamn eyes, it's free. Thank you. He's exactly right. The Democratic Party establishment has spent millions to stop Mamdani, and they're doing what they always do whenever their preferred establishment pick is in trouble. They tried out the dusty-ass Clintons in some last-ditch effort to crush the hopes and dreams of young people, and in 2016 and 2020, the Democratic presidential primaries, we saw this same dynamic play out, where the establishment mobilized to stop the preferred candidate of young progressive people. And what they don't understand is that these actions don't just have temporary election effects. Like, they're not just momentarily disappointed. They have lasting effects. It's left young people permanently cynical and disillusioned, specifically now that Trump is in office again, because we're left wondering what could have been had the Democratic Party not fucked us over. But the good news is that young men on TikTok have made it very clear that the outcome of this...
Remember, they fucked us over with Bernie Sanders both times. Bernie Sanders could have easily won, and like the DNC kept fucking rigging everything, giving answers to Hillary beforehand, the debates, and bro, it's like giving her all the money, not supporting Bernie at all, giving more airtime to the Democratic candidates that aren't Bernie. It's like, bro, they do every single fucking trick in the book to get every asshole elected besides the people the young people like.
election could change everything. If Zohran wins, they're back on board with the Democratic Party. But if he loses, they might be permanently done. So all of the Democrats currently spending lots of money to try to win back these types of voters, well, here's some free advice for you.
Zohran Mamdani loses. I think I've given up on the Democratic Party at this point. Do you understand that no left-leaning progressive young person is going to break to vote for Cuomo in New York City if they already are like fervently Mamdani? There's no reason for them to. Because if Cuomo wins, all it proves to them is that they will always go unheard. But it doesn't go the other way. I really don't know what the split is realistically of like Cuomo hopefuls who would vote for Mamdani, but I think it's many, many multiples over the other way. I think if Cuomo wins the primary, I think that there will be a Republican mayor of New York next. I really believe this. And it will only be because of the Democratic Party's arrogance. The people like Bill Clinton, who came out of their way to say, don't elect this socialist brown guy. That's all it is, too. They don't want to see a socialist Muslim person rule New York City. And that is bullshit, because Mamdani represents the reality of what America is much more than Andrew fucking Cuomo does.
As soon as you say we're going to tax the rich, that's when the phone calls start. That's when the kind of backdoor deals start happening and the alliances form and the billionaires go into overdrive where they're like, oh, well, we can't have that. We can't have a guy that wants to actually help people and spend our money doing it. So, like, if he loses, I'm really gonna lose I'm seriously gonna lose hope, you know? Like, if it comes down to establishment super PAC money being able to just push out Islamophobia and like McCarthy Red Scare style tactics against anyone who's like more left than Joe Biden, like that is going to just disillusion me to like the idea of ever running a legitimate political campaign that just wins on policy and not on propaganda.
Right.
I'm trying not to get my hopes up too high or count my chickens before they hatch, but there's something kind of indescribable happening right now. There was an Emerson poll that came out today that shows Mamdani winning in the final round, but it's not that specifically. It's that twice the amount of people have shown up to early voting than did in 2021. And the largest voting demographic is my age range, 25 to 34-year-olds. And the thing is, you can kind of just feel it in the city. The amount of people who are motivated, the amount of people moving, the amount of people canvassing out there, talking about it. I had a conversation on a train with like a much older lady about it. It just really feels like despite all the money going into Cuomo's ads and flyers, that there's a real energy, like real people, so many real people behind Zohran Mamdani.
Real people.
This could really happen. I don't know. It would mean so much.
Now, there were plenty of other TikToks about this, but I chose those three in particular because they encompass the range of emotions that I myself feel. If Mamdani loses, then it's just further confirmation that nothing good is possible in this godforsaken country, even if you have the best candidate possible. But if he wins, we'll have hope, perhaps for the first time in half a decade. But the thought that he might win is scary because, as that last guy said, we're terrified about getting our hopes up. So even though it looks like he might win, I don't want to think that because I just feel like after having my hopes and dreams crushed again and again by the Democratic Party establishment,
we're like in an abusive relationship with the Democratic Party. Like, they fucking destroyed the left. They shit on us. They spit on us. They tell us we're the reason they lose everything. Meanwhile, we're the reason why they win. They win when they go on our policies. They win when they follow Bernie Sanders. But no, they just fucking spit on us, dude. They're literally an abusive ass, like, corporate, shitty, you know. Bro, we need to take over the Democratic Party, dude.
I can't deal with the heartbreak once again. And Cameron Kasky put it best in an appearance on MSNBC, and he wasn't necessarily talking about Mamdani here specifically, even though he does support Mamdani too, but he was speaking to a broader problem with the Democratic Party.
I think the Democratic Party keeps getting served issues we can win on a silver platter and just kind of turning them away. If we were staunchly anti-war, boom, skyrocketing popularity. If we really, really took it to the oligarchy, skyrocketing popularity.
But the problem is they're not anti-war and they're not anti-oligarchy, and that's the problem that we have with the Democratic Party.
And then they're like, why won't your generation vote for us? Well,
he's right. I mean, they're spending so much money to study how to talk to young men when that's unnecessary because the answer is right in front of their fucking faces. Young people simply want what older generations had, the ability to buy a house, to be able to graduate and not get bogged down by debt. But they want more than what you had. They want the next generation after them to do even better than previous generations. They want healthcare that's free at the point of service like every other country. We want you to stop supporting Israel's genocide in Gaza. Democrats don't need to learn how to talk to young men. They just need to learn how to listen. And not just to young men, to be clear, to listen to women and trans people and black voters who've been the backbone of the Democratic Party but somehow have no influence over policy at all. Think about it. Millions of people took to the streets in 2020 after George Floyd was murdered, and nothing came of that. It's fuck you after
no laws, no nothing, no protections. Just the guy went to jail.
Fuck you combined with no introspection whatsoever after defeat, coupled with confusion about why nobody likes them, in addition to their hubris and elitism that makes the party so goddamn insufferable. It's so obvious right now why the Democratic Party is loathed that even Obama alum at neoliberal headquarters can see it.
You have to admit that what Mamdani has done is to build a very inspiring campaign that has energized young people for a mayoral race in a way in which no one has seen in a very long time. While that's happening, you have seen this panic among the Democratic establishment, not just in New York, but outside of New York. You have all these centrist Democrats saying, this is going to cost us races and we can't have a Democratic socialist. And once again, the Democratic establishment is circling the wagons. They have a super PAC funded by billionaires running just nonstop negative ads against Mamdani. We're all having this conversation, like, how do we get young people to stick with Democrats? How do we win them back? And then every single time there's
we shit on them.
Excited about, some members of the Democratic establishment and billionaires get together to try to torpedo that candidacy. To do that is bad. To do it for Andrew Cuomo is really unforgivable. You're doing it for someone that the entire Democratic Party leadership, including the President of the United States at the time, wanted to resign from the governorship because he sexually harassed 11 women. He abused his power, involved in this nursing home scandal, and everyone's getting behind that. The idea that we are more scared about a Democratic socialist as the mayor of New York than Andrew Cuomo with his record of corruption and sexual harassment is insane.
I never thought that I'd say this after watching a Pod Save America segment, but well said. But the problem is that, as we now know, the Democratic Party doesn't actually think that they need to change anything because they know that not being Republicans is enough. After 4 years of Trump, they know voters will come running back to them with open arms. And even though those same people who run back to them might stay home the next election after 4 more years of disappointment, Democrats know that they just have to wait a little bit longer after each subsequent election cycle for the disappointment to fade away. And they're naturally going to become more popular once Americans are reminded again how disastrous Republicans are. And we know why the Democratic Party is the way that they are, because their core constituency isn't us, it's their billionaire donors.
Yep.
But it's so much more than that. And a TikToker who also supports Mamdani explained really well how the party apparatus is functionally a business, and understanding this will make their behavior a lot more digestible.
What you need to understand is that Zohran Mamdani is running a political campaign. Andrew Cuomo is running a business. Through lobbies and PACs and donations, Cuomo has raised, I believe, over $30 million. And as a business, that's a very successful enterprise. And you have to understand that that is how the Democratic Party operates, because that's not static money, right? That is money that is coming into Cuomo's campaign from donors and then going out into lobbyists and campaign consultants and people in an office somewhere making mailers. And there are thousands of individuals who are getting a paycheck because of the way that Cuomo is operating his business. And all of those individuals are in some way related to the Democratic establishment or are related to a PAC that is then related back to the Democratic establishment. The Democratic Party is in the business game. They are not in the political campaign game. And it is imperative for the Democratic Party for Cuomo to win, because if he wins, then the business keeps going. If Mamdani wins, they can't guarantee that that business is going to happen. They're going to try. They will be up his ass to try to turn him into the business they want him to be, but they know if Cuomo is in office, he is the businessman for them. He'll keep talking to the big donors. He'll be on the phone every single day trying to elicit campaign contributions. He'll invite the bigwigs to galas and balls. He will give them undue influences in his campaign agenda, in his political agenda, because he wants to make sure that he is running that successful business for the Democratic Party. This is why the party is doing everything they can to stop Mamdani from winning, because he is not in the business of politics. He is running a political campaign that is trying to deconstruct that political business. You have to keep this in the forefront of your brain. Politics in our capitalist society isn't about issues or legislation or laws. Politics is a business, and both for the Democratic and Republican parties, Business is booming.
And that makes sense. So it's not that they're stupid or they don't know what voters want. It's that they're corrupt and don't want to give voters what they want because that conflicts with what their donors want. And this corruption is taking place out in the open. We can all see it. So if you're a millennial like myself, for your entire adult life, you've watched democracy become increasingly commodified. Sometimes you've been priced out of your community. You've seen income and wealth inequality surpass Gilded Age levels. You've seen large multinational corporations solidify their stronghold over our government and block even modest efforts to mitigate climate change. We don't even know if we're going to have a future at this point. Should we prepare for our retirement, or will we be dead due to climate apocalypse? Like, you've been working the same job, but your wage hasn't increased. So, I mean, like, logically, we're deducing that the system, capitalism, has caused all of our pain and suffering. That's the problem. Hence why so many young people reject it altogether. It's why social democrats like Bernie Sanders, AOC, Zohran Mamdani are so popular among young people, millennials, Zoomers, because these candidates are targeting the very system that has fucked us over again and again and again. So it's insulting for the Democratic Party establishment to repeatedly prioritize their business over our future. And it's why young people hate them. But here's the thing. The Democratic Party establishment only has power so long as we give it to them. Anti-socialist, Islamophobic fear-mongering is utilized by elites because it works. This propaganda convinces...
That is so fucked up. They literally took an image of Zohran Mamdani. They lengthened his fucking beard. They made his beard all thick and shit. And dark. They made him... They tried to make him look scarier. Oh my god, dude.
Older, more centrist Democratic Party voters to reject the preferred candidate of progressives and young people, and it works. And I understand that socialism is scary to older voters who grew up during the Cold War, but I'm going to be very blunt. I don't give a fuck about your fears. Get over it. My generation graduated...
Grow up, motherfuckers.
...to the Great Recession and has been fucked over by the system again and again and again for the entirety of our lives. It's not working for us. So if older voters refuse to let the Democratic Party become the vehicle for change young people want it to be, they have to understand that they are complicit with the rise of fascism. It's either socialism or fascism. That's the two options. Pro-capitalist neoliberalism isn't creating winning coalitions, clearly. So it's time to switch it up if you actually want to defeat fascists once and for all. And I get that there's millions of dollars being spent against Mamdani, as well as a coordinated smear campaign by media elites like Stephen Colbert, who try to portray Mamdani as some scary Muslim anti-Semite. Fuck you for that, by the way, Colbert. But at the end of the day, Mamdani is simply saying he wants the city to be more affordable. If you say no to that message, then stop complaining about the cost of living. Stop complaining about things getting worse. Stop complaining about young people not voting, because your support for the establishment candidate over progressives again and again has permanently disillusioned them. So yes, I am blaming the Democratic Party establishment, but I'm also blaming voters if they don't vote the way that is logical in this instance. Having said that, it's entirely possible that enough Democratic voters finally do see the game that's being played and how they're being duped every single election. As Newsweek reports, so many Democratic Party voters are fed up with the establishment's bullshit that almost half want an entirely new party. That is a stunning number. Moreover, 6 in 10 Democrats now say that the party needs new leadership. So if Democratic Party voters really are as dissatisfied with the status quo as they say they are, prove it. You can prove it right now with this election. You have a clear choice between two very different candidates, and the outcome of this race could determine the direction of the Democratic Party going forward. You have the choice between Andrew Cuomo, a corrupt sex pest who resigned in disgrace, whose policies killed old people in nursing homes, who doesn't give a fuck about you, who's also an attorney for war criminal Benjamin Netanyahu. And then you have Zohran Mamdani, a young, charismatic progressive who's...
Fuck Cuomo. I hope he gets tried in The Hague. Hope he gets a war criminal trial.
Supports policies to make the lives of...
For supporting Netanyahu.
Regular people better. The choice could not be more clear. And if the pervert, who's supported by other perverts, specifically Epstein associates like Bill Clinton and Glenn Dubin, prevails, that might actually be the final fuck you that the Democratic Party establishment gets to give to young people. I'm not saying that there will never be another candidate that galvanizes young people again, but when the choice is so clear, perhaps as clear as it'll ever be, I genuinely don't think the cynicism this will instill in young people and progressives if Mamdani loses will be reversible. So the Democratic Party establishment obviously have made their choice. But Democratic Party voters, they don't have to go along with the choice that the establishment has pre-selected for them, right? So I don't know what's going to happen yet, but I do know that the outcome of this race will be incredibly consequential. It'll either cement the Democratic Party's descent into irrelevance or change their trajectory and breathe new life into a party that is dying. The choice is yours, New York City voters, and I sure hope you didn't fuck this up for us.
Make the right choice. Make the right choice.